Hey, sorry about that, guys. Somebody was calling my phone, so it kicks off the video. So going back, I'm not a huge fan of the EPA. Again, I told you I've got bias, like everybody else does. The EPA, when I was a kid, went out to my father and his property way back when. It's a great story to tell. They said that we built on wetlands, and it cost my dad hundreds of thousands of dollars. And he's one of the only, individuals on his own, not a big company, not a big corporation. Of course, I talked to these, that ran a junkyard out in Middleburg for a long time, no longer. And they wanted to basically take his property away from him. And he's one of the only people ever to defeat them in the court of law. So I think the EPA might have some good people in it, but there's also some really bad people in it. And I don't think it's run right. I think it's another government bureaucracy. This is an ongoing question we've had throughout the year is, what is the role of government? Think about it like right now, think of the coronavirus today. The government sucks at a lot of things. They don't do a lot of things well. You can name like 3 things that government does well. They can run a military pretty good, okay? They can run a police department, fire department pretty good, and they can build roads and bridges. Outside those 3 things, they suck at. Dealing with global pandemics, they suck at, okay? Dealing with the environment, they suck. They're terrible at those things. Okay, so why do we need to create another organization that's going to take millions of dollars, perhaps billions of dollars, to basically try to help? Okay, and I don't. Anyways, Richard Nixon was really big. Rachel Carson was really big in this era of getting a lot of environmental rules put in. I get it. I love the environment too. I just don't think the government does a good job of it, to be honest. So anyways, let's get to Silent Spring and Rachel Carson. Okay, you need to know her for your test. There's not a whole lot to write on. She basically writes a book called Silent Spring in 1962. And this persuades Congress to restrict the use of DDT and pesticides. The environmental movement begins. Earth Day is a big hit. Every year it gets celebrated April 22nd. Okay, a little fun fact. One of the Earth Day founders, murdered their spouse. I don't know if it was the wife murdered her husband, or the husband murdered the wife. Either way, I do know that they did recycle the body. So at least they're being, earth conscious, environmental conscious. I don't know. So, all right, so make sure you know Rachel Carson, Earth Day, the environmental movement, okay? And make sure you know under Nixon, the next slide we need to talk about Nixon, 4 things he does to kind of push these things. To push the environmental movement ahead. He creates the Environmental Protection Agency. Okay, that's what EPA stands for. Again, its goal is to protect the environment. Again, a nice goal. It's supposed to help out, but I don't think it does a good job of it. The Clean Air Act, it was to combat air pollution. Good. These are all good things, The Clean Water Act is to limit water pollution. And what I mean by this, guys, is like what you oftentimes see with these big bureaucracies, like the EPA. What they do is they use these laws to go after small mom and pops. They don't go after big companies. They basically take, big companies basically provide so much money to campaign contributions, and they make sure the politicians make sure these guys don't bother them. Unless they're political enemies. And that's why I don't like the government being so big and so, because it can be really kind of corrupt. Okay, I'm all about saving the environment. Okay, I'm all about, keeping those things special. I just think it should be up to businesses or private nonprofits or whatever. So, and then the Endangered Species Act was to protect endangered animals. Okay. I guess kind of like a little, common or current event, I'm sure most of you have watched Tiger King. If you haven't watched Tiger King, it's a pretty hilarious show on Netflix. But I think that shows like my point, right? Like if anybody doesn't know, there's right now that currently there are more tigers in private, owned by private citizens than they are in the entire wild. And so my first question is like, what, like they make that big to do on Tiger King, and my big thing was like, why is that even a big deal? It's good. It means that we're having more tigers, right? Like the whole idea is to get more people that are not endangered. So, and again, this is my biased opinion. Anyways, check out Tiger King, and we can kind of discuss this, but I really kind of feel that like the people, the animal rights people in Tiger King were doing the exact same thing that these private owners were doing. Now, I think everybody on the show are bad people. They're all bad people, but I really kind of thought they were the same people. They were doing the same thing with these animals. Yet one was using the government to shut down the other. They were using its government power to try to attack the other. Now, there's a whole bunch of other things that happened in that movie and that show. There's murder. There's a lot of crazy things that go on. But I mean, at my kind of like when I start looking at it like, in the eyes of like politics and the role of government, again, I just think that the government doesn't do a lot of things very well. Okay, y'all are probably too young to remember. This is a good little segue to today, to what's going on today. Y'all probably don't remember like the BP oil spill. Back, man, I think it was like 2013. There was an oil rig that blew up, and the media basically portrayed it as if like it blew up in the Gulf of Mexico, and we were supposed to get oil all over Florida. We weren't supposed to go to the beaches. Businesses were going to be shut down. Yada yada yada. Nothing happened. Little tar balls showed up on the West Coast, and basically all the oil that was spilled out of this big oil spill, everything was okay. And I really kind of think, again, my gut and my biased opinion, I think that this pandemic, that it's all going to be okay. We're all just kind of like going crazy over this thing for no reason. For no reason. There is a reason, but I think it's very, very overblown. Much like, this was. Again, the media, like we're all gonna die in Florida. Like it was a bad to do, and what it was a big exaggeration by the media. Okay. So one thing I do want to talk about.